He was stopped at Metro Airport when he came out early one morning. There was an accident, and the state policeman ran in front of him and said, "Hey, you're going too fast." Doug said he was going 5 miles an hour. And Doug says, "Can I please have your card, sir?" He was told to get out of the car. He had his hands put up on the car, and he was arrested for being obnoxious to a state policeman. Okay? Had to appear 2 hearings, but the cop never appeared, so I guess they decided that they didn't want to contest this one. And then, I don't know how many of you know, there's a guerrilla newspaper in Ann Arbor called The Ann. Okay? I didn't know about it, but if you go to their website, there's a very interesting article on the circuit court in Washtenaw County and how corrupt it is. It's a very long article, well documented. Okay? And Judge David Schwartz is the chief circuit judge. Okay? And he's implicated in many nefarious things reported in that article. And David Schwartz is the guy who, around the year 2000, at that time I had gotten a $300,000 grant to bring world-famous aircraft designers to the U of M and teach the second aircraft design course. The University of Michigan decided that this wasn't suitable for our students, and they basically took the money and used it for social purposes and prevented me from giving this advanced aircraft design course. And David Schwartz is the guy who signed the order doing this, and it's my opinion that he adversely affected the education of a generation of significant aircraft designers that we would have had, like Kelly Johnson. So I personally find that David Schwartz, the chief judge, is a scoundrel, and I would really say a traitor to American defense causes. Then, you know, as someone who gives away Second Amendment stickers in case you didn't get one, I've been very puzzled about these police shootings. You know, every day we have the left-wing liberals running around saying, "Oh, we got to restrict guns and repeal the Second Amendment, etc., etc." You know, we can't have Second Amendment people who come to the Big Sky Diner on Friday night. But where are these liberals now when we have all these police shootings? I'm yet to hear one of these people who feel that guns should be restricted saying, "Oh, we have to have reliable policemen who've had a background check, etc., etc., okay, to possess and use guns." Now, maybe there's some hope. Okay, 3 of us got elected. Cindy Gamrat, okay, Todd Corser, and Gary Glenn. They're now in the legislature in Michigan. Okay? And I have found in my own experiences with these people that they're reliable. Okay? I don't know that I have to agree with them on everything, just like Dan knows. But as long as they don't lie, cheat, and steal, that's the point to begin with. Okay? And I think some of you have gotten the notice about the powwow at the casino in Mount Pleasant, the 9th and 10th of January. I went to one of the previous ones. I think it's the hardcore of the Tea Party, and I found it to be quite worthwhile. Okay? And if you're not aware of it, I would suggest you Google it and maybe consider going up. I'm going up the night before, if anybody needs a ride. Okay? The situation, I think, is accurately described by something that I wrote up earlier this year and is on my website. The law enforcement, judicial, legal system are a failure. Many individuals within this system are corrupt, as they have been bought. Criminals are not prosecuted and victims suffer. Okay? And if you don't believe that, look at what happened in Wall Street. Okay? Now, we need to run good people. Okay? I mean, you've heard me say that many, many times before. Okay? If we don't have good people running, things are going to stay the same or even get worse. Okay? And, you know, I gave you 2 examples before. In my estimation, you can disagree. Ben Carson and Elizabeth Warren. I mean, they're from totally opposite ends of the spectrum. But as I said before, neither have been indicted, and they've both been published in referee journals. Okay? So they're smart, they're honest, and they can probably learn, okay, and be influenced by people with reasonable wishes. The converse of that, inverse of that, is Mike Rogers, okay? Dan and I went on a visit to Mike Rogers, and Dennis too, I think. Probably was 2008, and told him about China, or his staff. Nothing ever happened. Well, I don't know if you noticed in the news last week, it wasn't on mainstream media. They came out with, this was on mainstream media, the Benghazi report. And the Benghazi report was very unexceptional. Like, hey, nothing happened there. Well, do you know who the security firm was that was in charge of the security at Benghazi? It was the firm that Mike Rogers' wife works for. All right? At a very high salary. Now, there's something wrong here. I mean, these people obviously eat dinner together at night, etc., etc. Okay? And, you know, we thought it was really fishy for a long time that Mike Rogers never showed any interest in what was going on at the University of Michigan. Okay? So we shouldn't be proud that we have people like him. Okay? And often I hear that the problems that Dan alluded to at the University of Michigan could be quickly solved if we only got 2 more Republicans on the panel, or on the Board of Regents, to add to the 2 that are already there. All right? Well, in 2012, 2014, we did like Einstein. We ran the same experiment and got the same results. And I think that's the definition of an idiot that Einstein gave. Okay? Well, here's 2 little goodies from my last flight to Moscow on Delta Airlines. You know, when they come through and give you the things to freshen you up. There's some hand lotion and some chapstick. And it says, Delta Airlines, produced in the People's Republic of China. Okay? And Andrea Fisher-Newman is Vice President of Delta Airlines. Okay? Region at the University of Michigan, where we have 4,000 Chinese students. But what kind of a patriot is she? I would say a poor one. Okay? And why do we think that putting people like the Dems and the Republicans that we have on the board are going to change things? The final thing I want to say is about one of the messes in the world, and that's the Ukraine and Russia and the United States right now. You know, I was in the Soviet Union when it collapsed, and understand, you know, as I mentioned earlier this evening, I knew Ashton Carter because he was coming to Moscow a lot at the time, and Bill Perry was. And at that time, NATO made an agreement with Russia that we would not expand to their borders. Well, we've done that, okay? Well, we're doing that, okay? So, this has been driven by Obama, okay? Clinton and Bush also contributed to it. Okay? And some of the people who are in the government right now, okay, they're kind of leftovers from the Bush administration, some of the neocons. You know, they basically, in my opinion, precipitated this crisis by trying to get U.S. industry big time into the Ukraine. Okay? And they displaced the government that was in place. Maybe it was a totally corrupt government, etc., etc. Okay? But I continue to see, in my estimation, the degeneration of the situation in Central Europe, which is not good for anybody. Okay? But I guess we can rationalize they've been fighting since the year 500. The Swedes go down, and then the Poles go there, and the Russians go there, etc., etc. So warfare has kind of been normal. But we ought to pay close attention to what's going on there. And yeah, maybe Mr. Putin's not the perfect president. We certainly know Mr. Obama's not the perfect president. Okay, but we should try to avoid further deterioration of that issue. And maybe I had mentioned previously, there is an attempt being made to move lock, stock, and barrel the Ukrainian rocket industry to the United States. because we don't want to use that Russian rocket engine anymore. Okay? And today the Congress passed a law forbidding the purchase of any more Russian rocket engines before we've even created the ability to make a new rocket engine. Okay? So we hope there's no potholes on the way to making our new engine. Okay? So the last thing I'll say is things are probably worse than they seem. Okay? And it's going to take people like you to make Tim Wahlberg and Debbie Dingle, I mean, she's a real pan to hug too, okay, accountable to us and our interest. How do you do this? I don't know. So thank you for listening, and go out and try to make some changes.